Alrighty, and welcome back to the Mother-Daughter Disney podcast. My name is Amanda. I'm here with my very lovely mother.
Hi, I'm Jeanette.
And today we're going to be doing a Disney history into Splash Mountain. So I meant to do this the other week, but honestly, I just didn't have time to get the notes together because recently, as we know, Tiana's Bayou adventure just opened up. So I thought it would be fun to do a little look back into the whole story and history of Splash Mountain. It was such a beloved ride in Disney World and Disneyland, you know, in Disneyland Tokyo as well. So I thought we'd just do a little Disney history and just deep dive into Splash Mountain. So what was Splash Mountain? It was a log flume dark ride located in Magic Kingdom and Frontierland, Disneyland, which is in Anaheim, California, in their Critter County, and also in Tokyo Disneyland as well. It features the 52.5 feet drop, which is 16 meters. And that's probably the main reason why you're really going on the ride is for that drop. So, all right, some logistics of the ride. It opened in Disneyland on July 17th, 1989 and closed May 31st, 2023. It opened in Magic Kingdom on October 2nd, 1992 and closed January 23rd, 2023, and both of those have been replaced by Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Tiana's Bayou Adventure is open now in Magic Kingdom, but it is not open in Disneyland yet. And then it is like Splash Mountain in itself is still in full operation with the original Song of the South songs in Disneyland Tokyo.
Oh, so if you're change it there. Okay.
Yep. So if you're able to get over to Tokyo Disneyland, you will 100% be able to go back on Splash Mountain in the way that it is. All right, let's go through the voice cast real quick before we go through the ride summary. So this is the American versions of the voice cast. So you will hear these versions in Magic Kingdom and Disneyland. Some of the audio is a little bit different depending upon which park you were in. And then of course they did a whole new overlay for Disneyland Tokyo, of course. But so in the American versions, Brer Rabbit, Mr. Bluebird, Geese, Boot Hill Boys, and Brer Terrapin are voiced by Jess Harnell. Brer Fox is voiced by J.D. Hall. Brer Bear is voiced by Nick Stewart and Jess Harnell, which is some lines. And in the Disneyland version, that's in the Disneyland version. And the Magic Kingdom version, James Avery voiced this Brer Bear. Brer Frog is voiced by James Avery. The Bullfrogs are voiced by Thurl Ravenscroft. And Mother Possum and Mother Rabbit are voiced by B.J. Ward, which is in Disneyland. Now, just I want to note, Brer Rabbit, like Brer Fox, Brer Bear. Brer is just kind of like Mr. It's like Mr. and Mrs. or like Sir.
Is it? Okay.
So that's all that is like Brer Rabbit, like Mr. Rabbit is basically what it's saying. Brer, I found a very difficult word to say for some reason. I'm not really sure why. So I may not say it every time. I may just refer to them as fox or bear or rabbit. They're all the same characters.
Okay. They won't find the information.
Yeah, they all just go by like Brer or Rabbit. Right. But again, it's Brer is a weird word for me to say. So I may just say like, but it's basically like Mr. Rabbit is what it is. All right, so now the ride. So I'm going to go through the summary of the ride that's in Magic Kingdom. It is essentially the same in the other three parks, but I'll go through some of the key differences. All right, so in Magic Kingdom, riders board an 8-passenger log seated 2 by 2, so you sit next to someone. Lap bars were not introduced until January 2011.
Wow.
So that means this
ride went down that hill without a lap bar?
Yes, I know, right?
Oh my God.
This means the ride was open for 19 years with no lap bar. Now, what is really funny is that I actually remember going on as a child without the lap bar, which is crazy because I do remember the first time we went on it.
That's the last time I went on it.
Yeah, I'll say, what I should say is I mainly remember going on it in my adulthood and thinking, wow, I don't remember there being a lap bar, but there is a lap bar. Okay. So yeah, but reading this, I was right. Yeah, the lap bar was not introduced until 2011, 19 years. This ride had no lap bar, which I thought was really funny. All right, so your log departs the loading area and then you get Brer Frog and he kind of gives you the little introductory narration. The log ascends a dual chain lift and then you kind of go through like a small pond and then at the bottom there's like, again, you're going through this small pond and then there's like a little drop. You float through some scenery that's designed to evoke the feeling of a river. This is all outside for the most part. So as you're floating around, you can kind of see the trees of like Florida. This scene is also really iconic as well because you can see the fireworks in this scene. So if the fireworks are going off because you're outside and you're elevated, you'll be able to see the fireworks throughout this like little outdoor scene. And then you pass the homes of the 3 main characters of the ride, which were all incorporated into this like outdoor landscape. And the instrumental version of How Do You Do plays from the hidden speakers. How Do You Do is the first song in Splash Mountain. So after passing Brer Bear's cave, the logs descend down a drop, crossed back under the flume. So this is like an outdoor drop actually. And then the logs enter into the actual building itself for the first indoor portion of the attraction. And this is where various like audio animatronic animals, including geese and frogs, sing again that first musical number, How Do You Do. There are several vignettes established throughout the story of a restless Brer Rabbit who wants to leave home and he's slowly being pursued by Brer Fox and Brer Bear. And then Brer Rabbit is seen Brer Rabbit tells Mr. Bluebird, which is funny that they're all Brer something except for Mr. Bluebird. He is Mr. Bluebird. Why he's not Brer Bluebird, I don't know why. Brer Rabbit tells Mr. Bluebird that he's going to his laughing place. And then Brer Porcupine warns him though of the danger ahead but Brer Rabbit's like, everything will be fine, and he continues on. The next song is Everybody's Got a Laughing Place, and this begins to play after Brer Bear springs like a trap for Brer Rabbit. However, Brer Bear gets sprung in the trap that Brer Fox set for the rabbit. So basically the bear is silly and he gets caught in the trap that they meant to try to catch the rabbit. And then this is when you go through one of the first like dark tunnel drops, and now you're in the laughing place. The laughing place sounds so creepy when you just read it like that it's supposed to be like a fun thing. But again, when we get into it, the Song of the South, the story was written in the 1940s, so I'm sure it sounded much happier. But in present day, if you call something the laughing place, that sounds like creepy. And you're going to like the caves.
Right, you're going to the dog.
Okay. I didn't know it was called the laughing place. All right, so then bees attack Brer Bear while Brer Rabbit laughs with joy, unaware that Brer Fox is behind him, preparing to drop a beehive on top of him. And then after another short drop, again indoors in the dark, so this is the second short drop indoors in the dark, you head further into like the cavern scenes. And in this one, this is where you have the guys are riding turtles laughing, the singing bullfrogs, the dancing water fountains. Although within the last couple years in Magic Kingdom, the dancing water fountains did not work. There's supposed to be little water spots that go over the ride itself, and they were not working for the last few years. I feel like, I don't know if just every time I went on it wasn't working, but I'm not sure. So, and then the log goes into a darker area where Brer Rabbit was caught by Brer Fox in a cave, and then you're kind of like in the cave with like little drippy things in there. And then as you're going up the lift, the real big lift, two vultures taunt the riders as they're ascending the lift, and you have this scene to the left, the iconic scene where Brer Fox is like menacing to Brer Rabbit. Brer Rabbit is pleading not to be thrown into the briar patch. Now, a briar patch is basically just like a thorn patch, but I feel like most people don't know what a briar patch is in today's age. So when you get to the top of this lift now, the log descends that 50, it's funny, some things say 52 feet, other things say 50 feet. I'm honestly not sure if it's 15 to 16 meters. Maybe it depends upon like Magic Kingdom, Disneyland, or Disneyland Tokyo. You drop at a 45-degree angle, reaching a maximum speed of 40 miles per hour into a tunnel underneath the Frontierland walkway. And this is the Magic Kingdom version. After another outdoor like flume segment, the log coasts back into the mountains. You kind of go like around a little circle, and this is where the characters all sing Zippity Doo Dah in celebration of Brer Rabbit's return, while Brer Fox and Brer Rabbit attempt to fend off Brer Gator. So Brer Gator, but then Mr. Bluebird. So I'm unsure where Mr. Bluebird. Yeah, because at the end, Brer Rabbit sings with Mr. Bluebird, telling him that he learned his lesson. So I'm just like, I don't know why it wasn't Brer Bluebird. That's so confusing.
Oh God, I don't remember this whole story being so long when I was on the ride. Maybe because I was so scared. Okay.
So the two big differences between the ride in comparison to the film Song of the South is the exclusion of Uncle Remus's character altogether. And so in the actual film, Uncle Remus is the main character that works on the plantation, and his character is just replaced by Brer Frog. So it's just all animatronic animals rather than having a human character. And they also changed Brer Rabbit's method of capture being, so in the ride, he gets stuck in like a beehive. In the movie, he got stuck in tar. So they changed that as well. All right, so some differences to Disneyland. So again, I just read through the Magic Kingdom version of it. So in Disneyland, instead, it's all the same except the logs that you sit in seats, and they only seat 6 to 7 people. And when they brought the ride to Magic Kingdom, they wanted to sit more people, so that's why they did 2x2 instead. Before the first indoor portion of How Do You Do, you can hear a bear snoring. And this is in tribute to Bear Country, which was the former name of Critter County, in which the land the ride is in. So again, like the original Splash Mountain was in Critter County, which used to be Bear Country. So they actually changed, we'll get to that later on, but they actually changed Bear Country to Critter County for this ride specifically. So when that was part of the reason.
Because they had all critters in it. Okay.
Yeah, so in Disneyland, they did that on purpose. And so again, they had that bear snoring in like a little tribute to it, which I don't think necessarily would translate very well personally, because you already have a bear character in this ride, but that's beside the point. And one other difference is that some songs are slightly different, such as the Opossum and a Rabbit are singing Burrow's Lament when Brer Rabbit gets captured. Burrow's Lament was completely cut from the Magic Kingdom ride. We'll get into why Burrow's Lament was cut later on, but you can kind of hear a little bit of that song in the Disneyland version. All right, so differences to Tokyo Disneyland. So this ride is a mirror image to Magic Kingdom because it's on the opposite side of the river. So for instance, when you turn like right in Magic Kingdom, you're turning left in the Tokyo Disneyland version. There is no mill or barn structure like on the second lift. So right after you kind of get on the ride, you sort of lift up to go in through that little outdoor scenic riverside scene. And when you're there's like a little barn structure that's in there. That's not there instead. Instead, you just see the barn in the queue, and instead there you just enter straight into the caves. I feel like that wasn't a big difference. I wonder why they did that, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
The first drop, so for instance, the first drop in Magic Kingdom is outside. First drop in Tokyo Disneyland is inside, so that means all those 3 drops inside the ride are all in the dark. So you're like your dark cave rides, making the final drop, the big drop, the only outdoor drop. Wow. So perhaps they did it for that reason, so they're all indoors.
More anticipation.
So yeah, so I guess it's more exciting when you finally go back outside that you see the big drop. And also there is no extra drop after the biggest drop like in Magic Kingdom. So it's funny that it works like this because I don't really count the second drop after the big drop like a drop at all. You kind of just go over a little hill.
Just went around.
Yeah, you kind of just go like around a hill. Like I'm not really sure what that is really referring to. And the last major difference from Tokyo Disneyland to Magic Kingdom is that they have individual lap bars. So each little seat, instead of having like the full lap bar that goes over two people,
each one has their own.
They each have their own lap bar. And this makes the height restriction 5 inches shorter than the other two rides. So you can be even shorter to go in Tokyo Disneyland because you have your own
lap bar. So it can be adjusted for that person as opposed to
which makes a lot of sense. So I wonder why they didn't do that for Magic Kingdom, since then more people could go on the ride. I'm not sure.
Tokyo Disney was after Magic Kingdom.
So Tokyo Disneyland and Magic Kingdom were constructed basically at the same time, but the lap bars were included again years later. So I guess
at the same time,
around the same time, in 2011.
I was going to say maybe I guess Disney they decided did it first and then realized that they could have done it.
Tokyo Disneyland was willing to invest more, I guess, to do individual lap bars. I'm not sure. So all right, let's go into some of the songs now. So again, there are a few songs that are featured in the overall ride. So the first that you hear is "How Do You Do." This was recorded specifically for the ride. So even though it is in the movie, the versions you hear in the ride that you did hear on the ride were recorded for the ride by the Floozies. This was a 29-piece band from Oregon. Walter Steven Sim Hergel did most of the lead vocals, but you can hear all the backup singers as well. And again, one of his band members, Thurl Ravenscroft, voiced the Bullfrogs. Everybody Has a Laughing Place and Burroughs Lament. I'm not sure why, but Wikipedia put them together in this. This was sung by Elisa, Georgia, and Castell Newton. They were three sisters from California who worked for the Walt Disney Company at the time of the ride's construction, so they came in to sing this part. Castell and Elisa sang the words, while Georgia was responsible for the high-pitched, like operatic ahs in the background, kind of like the backups, the singer. And she also sang to Sooner or Later to like the Burroughs Lament song. And this was also sung with BJ Ward as well. And then again, and then the last song, Zippy Doo Doo Dah. This was a choir consisting over 75 cast members, was used to record this last score. And then this was also recorded in Burbank Studios in 1987. And Harnell also sang a solo as Brer Rabbit as the logs took their final turn back into the station. So as you like make that final turn, Brer Rabbit has his little solo song. Apparently that is Harnell singing. In addition to several other songs from Song of the South were heard as instrumental tracks playing in the loop in the queue area. So that's such as That's What Uncle Remus Said, Sooner or Later, All I Want, Who Wants to Live Like That, Let the Rain Pour Down. And in Disneyland, they have a loop of these songs that lasts about 25 minutes. So it's like a 25-minute loop. And Magic Kingdom has the same music and the same loop, except their loop is an hour long, which I think is really funny. They had a much longer loop than Disneyland.
They had more verses.
And because the version in Magic Kingdom took place in Frontierland, they incorporated more banjo and harmonica instruments into it to make it more of like that Western Frontierland. I remember
it being that kind of twangy, kind of music.
Yeah. So Disneyland, again, slightly different because they're in California, or because they're in Critter County, and again, Magic Kingdom and Frontierland. And again, Burroughs Lament was completely cut out of the Magic Kingdom due to its proximity to Georgia. Again, we're going to get into that in a little bit later. Lastly, for the songs, Tokyo Disneyland has all of the same songs, but of course their vocals are completely different. And then I was going to read out who the actors were, but I feel bad. I would not be able to pronounce most of their names. So I will have everything, all my sources linked here. So if you want to go research the people who were part of the Tokyo Disneyland version, definitely go research it. It's very interesting. But for the most part, it's all the same, just with different actors. The only other difference with Tokyo Disneyland is that they sang some of the verses in different orders, and some of their backup vocals have different harmonies. I'm not really sure why. I'm assuming that just has to do with translating to the Japanese language, that it just sounded better differently. And again, they also have a mix of Japanese and English, but predominantly this ride seemingly is mostly in Japanese. So there's just a little bit of English throughout the ride. All right, let's get into some history, some fun history. So Splash Mountain was originally conceived in 1983 by Imagineer Tony Baxter. He wanted to attract guests to the often empty Bear Country land in Disneyland because at the time, Bear Country in Disneyland only had one attraction, which was the Country Bear Jamboree. So not surprised that Bear Country was empty.
People weren't rushing to stay there,
attraction. Right? There's also a souvenir shop, and they also had the attraction America Sings, which was a kind of, again, another animatronic like singing type of thing. And America Sings was extremely poorly attended as well. And so I thought that was kind of funny. So it was Dick Nunes, who was then the president of Walt Disney Attractions at the time in the 80s, who insisted that the Imagineers create a log flume ride for Disneyland. Now, initially, the Imagineers were unenthusiastic about this because they thought a log flume ride was like too boring for Disneyland. They're like, no, Disneyland needs a more exciting, type of ride. Like people don't want a log flume ride. Like, how boring is that? And so while they were trying to solve the issues of including this log flume ride, bringing people into Brer Country and reusing the American Sings figures, Baxter, again, the Imagineer Tony Baxter, he thought of using using Song of the South and creating Splash Mountain. So according to Baxter, the name of the ride was originally going to be Zippity River Run. And so at the time when it was being developed, Walt Disney Studios was coming out with a movie called Splash, and the movie did come out in 1984. The studio executives saw the Imagineers' plans, and since it was a water-based like attraction, they really wanted Daryl Hannah's mermaid character from Splash in the ride itself.
Oh,
So
wow.
originally there was supposed to be a mermaid
That
in
would
there.
have been a whole different theme.
Yeah, however,
it was in Frontierland. So.
I know, right? Yeah, apparently Baxter refused the mermaid in his Zippity River Run,
Right.
and he said it did not fit in with the Brer Rabbit story because he was
I
already
agree.
going with the Song of the South.
I agree.
So instead, the executives, they compromised and they renamed the ride from Zippity River Run to Splash Mountain, and that is where the name came from. So then the character figures from America Sings, again, that previous audio animatronic like show, were used in the scenes throughout, so such as like Brer Rabbit, Brer Fox, Brer Bear, as well as some other characters from America Sings were all reused. So then plans to build the ride were then unveiled in January 1987, and at the time of its unveiling, Disney officials were expecting the criticism for using the Song of the South theming, since it was a ride that was including the film's that it was only going to include the film's animated characters. I have a whole thing on the controversy of Song of the South, so we're going to get to that in a little bit. I just want to note that even at the time when Song of the South came out, it was controversial. At the time of Splash Mountain came out, it was still controversial, and in today, it is still controversial. Song of the South has always been controversial, basically. Okay, so construction began in Disneyland in April of that year in 1987. By that time, Splash Mountain's budget had risen to $75 million and had become one of the most expensive projects to be created by Disneyland. So to put this in perspective, in 1955, all of Disneyland cost $17 million to build, which translated to $80 million in 1987. And this ride was going to be $75 million. So the amount it cost to build the entire park of Disneyland was what they were budgeting for this one specific ride for Splash Mountain, which is a lot to invest your money into. So according to Alice Davis, who is the wife of Disney animator and Imagineer Mark Davis, when America Sings closed in 1988, production of Splash Mountain had gone far over budget, and the only way they were able to recoup some of that money was again to reuse all of the animatronic figures from American Sings, as well as then that is when they decided to rename Bear Country to Critter Country instead. I think I'm missing Critter County. It's Critter Country. Sorry about that. In 1988. So that is why goodbye to Bear Country. Now it's Critter Country. So Splash Mountain was originally planned to open in January 1989, but it kept being delayed just due to technical issues, nothing too crazy. The main reason why it was being delayed was because when the Imagineers were doing the test runs on it, they were getting absolutely soaked rather than lightly sprayed. So the boats were then designed to be lighter. They would hold up to 7 passengers instead of 8, and they also have an underwater scoop to keep like too much water from leaking in. So they wanted to make basically the boats a little bit lighter so you don't get absolutely soaked. You still get wet, but again, for the most part, if you sit in the first row, you get really wet. If you sit in the back row, you really don't get as wet, honestly, so it's really not too bad. All right, then Splash Mountain officially opened in Disneyland on July 17th, 1989. And to celebrate its opening, a television special was made called Ernest Goes to Splash Mountain, and actor and comedian Jim Varney returned to play Ernest in the special. I don't know who these characters are.
Oh, Ernest, yeah. Ernest was a character in some movies, yes.
Yeah, so apparently he helped
Ernest goes to jail, Ernest does this, Ernest does that.
Well, Ernest Goes to Splash Mountain.
Yeah, Ernest went to Splash Mountain, okay.
All right, and then in 1990, they installed the cameras that took photos of the people going down the ride, which I thought was kind of fun. And on January 14th, 1990, Disney announced that Splash Mountain would be added to Magic Kingdom. And then in 1991, they also announced as well it would be added to Magic Kingdom and Tokyo Disneyland, and the construction began for both of those, again, basically at the same time. And both versions of the Splash Mountain opened within one day of each other. So in 1992, Tokyo Disneyland opened on October 1st, and Magic Kingdom opened its doors on October 2nd. And since Tokyo Disneyland and Magic Kingdom never had America Sings as an attraction, all of their audio animatronics were, again, all made specifically for Splash Mountain with brand new audio animatronics.
Right.
It's funny because I don't think I went on the Disneyland version of Splash Mountain, but I would be curious to see if you would have really noticed a difference between the reused animatronics.
Yeah, you didn't go on that when we were there, right?
Yeah, because I'm not a huge getting wet person on a ride. I don't really want to get wet, so that's why I never go on Splash Mountain. But in 2018, this is just the last little, I guess this could be in the fun facts and later on, but in 2018, the Magic Kingdom location received a sponsorship by Ziploc, and this is where the Ziploc created custom bags to protect your belongings of people who rode the attraction. It's funny, I actually remember when this happened because when I saw this, I didn't remember Disney giving you anything when you got on the ride for your phone or something like that, but apparently it was just because of this one random sponsorship with Ziploc, and it only lasted one season, and then that was it.
I don't remember
so
that
it wasn't
either.
anything too crazy. All right, so let's get into the redevelopment of Tiana's Bayou adventure. In June 2020, it was announced that Disneyland and Magic Kingdom attractions would be be rethemed based on the 2009 film The Princess and the Frog. Disney did state that this redevelopment of the project began way before 2019, and this was prior at the time in history, since again when we're recording this is 2024, but in 2020 this is when the Black Lives Matter movement really took off, and there were a lot of petitions to change Splash Mountain to something themed to basically Tiana. And so when Disney announced this, a lot of people were like, oh, they're doing this because of the petitions, and Disney was like, no, we already had this in mind anyway. Whether that's true or not, who knows if they decided, but either way, I'm really glad they still decided to do this project because I think it is really fun. The New York Times reported that Disney executives had privately discussed removing the attraction Song in the South theme for at least 5 years before putting into development based on The Princess and the Frog. So again, it was already kind of in the works for a couple of years there. And I'm this is my own opinion, I'm assuming the Black Lives Matter movement just pushed them forward, to say, let's do it, let's invest.
If you're not an executive at that table, you'll never know.
Yep. All right. So the project is led by Walt Disney Imagineer, who's also the senior creative producer, Charita Carter, while Baxter also returned as a creative advisor. So again, the guy who initially created the ride. A spokeswoman also said that there were no plans to redesign the attraction at Tokyo Disneyland, which is owned and operated by the Oriental Land Company. So as of right now, Tiana's Bayou Adventure opened on June 28th, 2024 in Magic Kingdom. We do not have an opening date yet for Disneyland as of recording. However, it is assumed it will open in the fall of 2024 or in the spring of 2025. And again, apparently Tokyo Disneyland is not going to change anytime soon. So if you do want to go in Splash Mountain, go to Tokyo Disneyland. That is the time to do it now. So, all right, now let's get into the Song of the South controversy. So what was the Song of the South? Why was it controversial? So Song of the South was a film that was released in 1946. It was directed by Harve Foster and Wilfred Jackson, and it was based on the Uncle Remus stories as adapted by Joel Chandler Harris and starred James Baskett as Uncle Remus. The story, in summary, follows 7-year-old Johnny, who was played by Bobby Driscoll, who is visiting his grandmother's plantation for an extended stay. Johnny befriends Uncle Remus, who is an elderly worker on the plantation, and takes joy in hearing his tales about the adventures of Brer Rabbit, Brer Fox, and Brer Bear. Johnny learns from the stories how to cope with the challenges he's experiencing while living on the plantation. Now, the major controversy of this overall movie is just the racist undertones within the movie. The movie is set during the Reconstruction era, but it basically romanticizes that idea of plantation life. So it gives this air almost like Uncle Remus, the main character, has this air of nostalgia sort of for like basically slavery, of like living the good old days type of thing, of like living that plantation life. Uncle Remus is depicted as patronizing in an infantilizing way. He seems very happy and unquestioning about his situation on the plantation, and is a very non-threatening figure who's kind of only there to give like advice to the white characters in the movie. The movie also features a black sharecropper children portrayed in similarly dehumanizing ways, which was also just like a product of the era as well. And I will say, everything online points to the fact that the movie was controversial even when it came out in the 1940s. This was, remember, the height of the Jim Crow era as well. So when the movie came out, nobody even liked the movie back then. And the main actor, Baskett, he was not even allowed to attend the premiere of the movie, even though he was the star as Uncle Remus, because the premiere of the movie was in Atlanta, and at the time Atlanta was a racially segregated city. So he was not even at his own premiere of his movie. And because of his controversy, the movie has never been released in home video format, streaming services, and is basically difficult to find an original copy of this movie anywhere. The only original copies you can find of this movie are fan-made remasters. So again, they're not the original copy from Disney or anywhere else. It's just fan-made remasters that you can kind of find on YouTube. And while cartoon characters like Brer Rabbit will appear in things like, such as Splash Mountain, none of the human characters from this movie have ever been referenced again by Disney, and basically just do not exist. So
distance themselves.
Though on a slightly, positive note, because again, it's hard to just turn from racism, honestly, unfortunately, but the movie did win an Oscar for Best Song for Zippity Doo Dah, which I was like, I guess that's fun. And Baskett, again, the main actor for Uncle Remus, he did receive an Academy Honorary Award for his performance as Uncle. I think also Zippity Doo Dah is just a good song overall, and is a famous song to this day. So, all right, so now let's get into just a few fun facts. So in Disneyland and Magic Kingdom, when you go on the railroad of the actual railroad of Magic Kingdom or in Disneyland, there is a part of the railroad where if you look down, you can actually see the last scene of Splash Mountain and now Tiana's Bayou Adventure through some glass, which is kind of exciting. And so that is still to this day, you can still see Tiana's Bayou Adventure through that little glass, but before you could see that final scene with the big ferry boat in there. The ride consists of 965,000 gallons of water. There is a very famous hidden Mickey on this ride, so I do not know if it's still in for Tiana's Bayou Adventure. I would say probably not. However, when you got to the top of the hill, there was the outline of Mickey's nose kind of very at the top of the hill. People really loved it. That was one of my favorite hidden Mickeys as well. Sad to see it go. And then again, this is super random, but in the late 1990s, the attraction at Disneyland received the nickname Splash Mountain Mountain because some female riders would expose their breasts very briefly during the final drop, hoping to make like the ride photos, scandalous. And then, obviously Disney had to put a stop to this. But I thought this was really funny that they briefly nicknamed it Flash Mountain, which I just thought was
just takes
quite
one.
Funny. Okay. All right, that was our little deep dive into Splash Mountain. So again, I mean, like a beloved ride that we will all miss very much, but I am very excited to see the new animatronics for Tiana's Bayou Adventure. I feel like Disney really splashed out on like the high-end animatronics. I think they learned their lessons from Frozen Ever After.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it looks like they really did. Right. I think they learned that everybody's saying, what the heck?
Yeah, like the Frozen rides on the Frozen Ever After in Norway in Epcot. God. So much controversy.
I know. When
Everyone
I went through
dislikes
there, I was like, what are you kidding me? I stood online for this.
I know, because I remember the first time we went on that ride and we were also disappointed because they have their eyes and some of their faces are just screens basically, and they just look so bad.
Yeah, it's very bad.
And no one really liked it. So for this one, they actually went back to the original, everything's audio animatronic, very high end. The audio animatronics I've seen offline look really great, so people really like them. So I'm glad they're going back towards that and not skipping out like they did.
Well, I have to say that when the review comes out, that when we go to Disney and it's open and whatever, Amanda will be doing that review too.
I'll definitely
I won't be
go
going
on it. So, well, I always like Splash Mountain as well. I do have a full ride through of Splash Mountain the last time
right before it closed.
Open.
I stood online with her, but I did not go on. But
I will link that video in the description of this podcast episode. So if you want to watch that one of the last ride throughs of it, again, you'll notice. I think you hear my commentary throughout it too, which is kind of funny. But one of my commentary is like when you go through that cave scene and the little water spouts aren't working, and I'm like, I feel like they have not worked in a long time. But then part of me is like, is that like a Mandela effect? Like, did I just think that happened? But I'm like, no, it's in the Wikipedia it was a thing.
See, you knew it was there.
Yeah, so I know it was a thing at some point, and then I guess they just stopped working. Who knows why, honestly. Right. But I'm super excited for Tiana's Bayou Adventure, even though Splash Mountain will be missed. But also, I do hope to go to Disneyland Tokyo one day, and so it will be fun to go on to the Disneyland Tokyo version as well, and also to see some of those like original, things that we no longer see. Right. Because now that Splash Mountain has closed in both U.S. locations, I highly doubt we're ever going to see Brer Rabbit, Brer Fox, or Brer Bear ever again. And sad to Mr. Bluebird as well. Never see him again.
Mr. Bluebird.
Yeah, I feel like those characters will be forever retired and gone now at this point. And again, Disney likes to remember that Song of the South does not exist. I don't think I put it in my notes here, but I'm not sure why I didn't make the notes. But Walt Disney himself did come out and announce Song of the South like at that initial world premiere in 1946. And then he didn't even stay for the premiere. Apparently he announced it and then he left. Didn't even watch the movie with everyone else. Okay. So I feel like even Disney was not too thrilled, I guess, about this film. I guess they all knew it was a bit too controversial, but I guess it was like too far past gone or anything like that, so they had to release it. But yeah, again, basically it's been scrubbed from the internet. Now that Splash Mountain is gone, I'm sure it'll be scrubbed even more. So it'll be interesting in the next 50 years if people even still remember it.
Right,
so,
they won't remember it.
Yep, I guess we will see. But all right, let's go into, I just have a little bit of Disney news because honestly, there hasn't been a lot of Disney news recently. I'm sure by the time this episode comes out, maybe there'll be more Disney news this week, so we're missing it. This is a 1 week pre-recorded. But there are some new Globe water bottles. They look like they're for children, but the top of the water bottle is like a little like snow globe. I thought it was really funny because one, isn't that just going to make it more heavy? So you have your water bottle in the water and then a snow globe on top.
I know it's hard.
But they're small. They're like, they're
yeah, but it's still hard enough to carry the water bottle, especially when it's hot.
They are really cute though, but yeah, there's lots of different characters for them as well, but I thought they were just cute. The only other big news, I say, but people are very excited, is that the Hush Puppies are back at Columbia Harbor House. I remember when the Hush Puppies left, people were very upset that there were no more Hush Puppies, but yeah, the Hush Puppies are back. Every Disney channel every Disney account was posting about the Hush Puppies are back and that they're very good. So again, now I don't think I've ever had them there before, but they look really good and they make for a good Instagram post at the very least. All right, then let's do some Disney birthdays. On July 19th, we have Cassie Lang. Happy birthday to Cassie Lang. She's from Ant-Man and the Wasp. She is like his daughter.
Oh, okay. I know that.
So happy birthday to Cassie. And then also on July 17th, 1955, Disneyland had its opening day. So Disneyland is now 69 years old. How thrilling is that? So, all right, and that transitions us into our final segment of the podcast, our Disney memory. Do you have a Disney memory?
Yes, mine is Splash Mountain. I remember after a couple of times you guys went on it, you convinced me to go. I said, okay, I will try it. And all I remember is we kept getting to those little dips
the little
that you
drops.
were talking about in the caves. And I kept going, is this it? Is this it? I was trying to wait to see, is it going to happen? Is this it? And by the third one, everybody told me, shut up, it's not it yet.
Yeah, I'll say this was my memory too, because my brother and my dad had been on Splash Mountain before, because Luke was more of a thrill seeker. Luke was also 3 years older than me, so as a child, he was more of a thrill seeker. Now he's 3 years younger. So the first time me and my mom went on Splash Mountain, every little time we went up a slight hill, we were like, is this it? And Luke and my dad would just like giggle in the front row in front of us, which is so funny. And again, there was those 3 drops on the ride that are, for the first one's outdoor, then the other 2 are indoor. But they get increasingly slightly longer as you continue to go along.
Yes, and if you don't know the ride,
especially if
you're
you don't
waiting
know,
for that drop.
Exactly, and especially too if you don't realize that there are smaller indoor in the complete dark drops.
Right.
I didn't know that at all as a child.
We didn't know.
So they were
didn't
scary.
bother to tell us that.
Yeah, they were scary. And then when you get to the big drop, it's very obvious, obviously, because you're really going uphill. So, like,
and needless to say, I did get soaked in a pair of beige pants, which is not very good when you're walking around completely soaked. But we did get completely soaked at the time. But
well, we were in the first 2 rows at that time as well.
But I did it, and it was fun, but not something I would do again. Yeah. I don't like getting wet anymore, and I don't want to go down that hill.
Yeah, I've done it. Of course, I've been on it a few times afterwards, mainly just to take videos and like photos and videos of it.
But I remember it was very cute, very entertaining. The animatronics, the whole thing. It's very, I have to say, it was a very good, what do you call it, the queue going through? Mm-hmm. Very, very good. I would love to see Tiana's Bayou. Really, really bad, but not bad enough to get on it and go down that hill.
Well, again, if you sit in the last row, you really don't get as wet as like the first 2 rows. I would definitely suggest sitting in the last row if you don't want to get too wet. And I would say too, if you're by yourself, for instance, if you sit in the last row in the center. Kind of like you scooch over, you really don't get like too wet at all. You'll see this in my vlog. So
I'll have to wait for your video.
Yeah, so another memory, I didn't include this in the summary of the ride, but another memory as well that you'll see in the vlog is that when you go around after the big drop, you go around this little corner and there's this like waterfall that's just like part of the ride for aesthetic purposes. But again, we got more wet from that waterfall than we did from the drop. And I was by myself in my row, so I just scooted all the way to like the left part of the log, I remember. But even then, like you couldn't avoid it because there was a backup, of course, of them unloading people. So we got trapped under the waterfall for an extended period of time where you're just basically getting soaked by this little waterfall. And everyone was just like, this is such a joke. Like, what is this?
I thought we were done.
But it was really funny though, honestly. Yeah. So, but yeah, I remember that as well. So I wonder if they still have that little waterfall. I assume, again, a lot of the floral and fauna have drastically changed, of course, to make it more New Orleans themed.
Things, right.
So I'm not really sure if it's going to be there or not. So I'm excited to see if that's going to be there too. But yeah, I'm overall very excited for Tiana's Bayou Adventure. We will always miss Splash Mountain as well, though. Again, but we'll always think of Mr. Bluebird and why he was not Brer Bluebird. Maybe I should have researched that for this podcast episode. But anyway, thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. Leave us a comment if you're watching on YouTube, or give us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you are. Make sure you're following us on social media. Our social media is Almost Amanda X, and I will also have that linked in the description as well. And let us know, do you miss Splash Mountain? Have you been on Tiana's Bayou Adventure yet? Do you prefer one or the other? Do you wish they could both exist in like if it was a perfect world type of thing? Do you think you'll go all the way over to Disneyland Tokyo just to get back on Splash Mountain and see Brer Rabbit again? So let us know. I would love to hear your thoughts. But yeah, thanks so much, everyone.